All right, everybody, welcome to Fantasy Football Live with the Fantasy Sports Boss. It's Tuesday, or as I like to call it, Bloody Tuesday. Wow, a lot of injuries, a lot of big injuries around fantasy football with Cooper Kupp and Dallas Goedert. And of course, Khalil Herbert was just the most recent one. He goes on IR with a hip injury. So a lot of big names that went down today. And that's certainly going to have a major impact on fantasy football leagues from now until the rest of the season there. So I'm going to get into all that. Also, Benjamin signed with the Houston Texans. Not the best landing spot for him, I guess, but maybe they gave him the most guaranteed money. So, Benjamin has a new home, so I'm going to go over that. Of course, going to take your questions. And also Waiver Wire Tuesday, we're going to go over the players that I think make for the best waiver wire ads for Wednesday there for week 11 in fantasy football. So before I go any further, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the notification button. And also we are over 1,000 subscribers. So thank you guys. I really appreciate that. I did apply for the extra bells and whistles that come for having 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewing hours. And what I'm really impressed about, and again, this is all thanks to you guys, is that, and I looked this up, typical, to get your first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube typically takes a year to 16 months. We were able to get there in 3.5 months. So again, I'm very proud of that. And I'm also very appreciative of all the support I've gotten. And it's really allowed the channel to take off. And like I said, there'll be more features going forward once I get approved by YouTube, such as the super chat, some other in live videos that I can put on during the show as well. And that comes when you have the 1,000 subscribers. And somebody dropped me a nice donation to mark the 1,000 subscriber milestone. It was an anonymous donation. So if you're in here, I appreciate it. Thank you. And of course, no donations are never expected, never asked for, but certainly appreciated. So thank you for that, whoever that was. So anyway, again, hit the subscribe, hit that notification button. So let's start with Cooper Kupp, all right? Because that's the big one. Had surgery, or he's going to have surgery for the high ankle sprain, going on IR. And since he's having surgery, it's probably going to go beyond 4 weeks. So I did put up a poll on the channel's message board, and it was like overwhelmingly like 90%. The question was, will Cooper Kupp play again this season? Overwhelmingly, 90% of you said no, he won't. And now, the fact that he needs surgery, I'm starting to think maybe he doesn't come back. I know the video I put out this afternoon, I was a little more optimistic, but now that I've had some time to digest this fully, most of the time, high ankle sprains, and we saw this with Saquon Barkley a couple of years ago. It'll take about a month to heal, and then you could come back with no surgery needed. But if there's ligament damage, surgery sometimes is needed. And in Kupp's case, he's going to be going under the knife. And so that probably will extend to 4 to 6 weeks instead of a typical 4 weeks with a regular high ankle sprain, non-surgical. This one is a surgical high ankle sprain. So now I'm thinking 4 to 6 weeks. And, that really puts Kupp right against it in terms of making a meaningful contribution for the remainder of the fantasy football season. All right, a couple of questions already coming in. Fran, I did not ignore yours. Rest of the season defense, Green Bay or Kansas City? That's a tough one. I'm going to have to say Green Bay because the quality of competition is not as robust in the division as it is for Kansas City, although the Denver Broncos, all three teams besides the Chiefs have been disappointing, but I think, the Chargers will get more healthy. The Raiders can still put up some points. So I would have to say Green Bay, they certainly can get after the passer. Thanks, boss. Hurting at wide receiver. Standard scoring, have to start 2. Evans on a bye. Olave, Tony, Palmer remain. Should I drop Palmer for Watson? Trade Olave? I would not trade Olave. Michael Thomas is out for the season. Jarvis Landry is back. It should help take some pressure off of him. And listen, if Jameis Winston is starting, that is an even bigger boost for Chris Olave because Winston likes to throw it down the field. So I think Winston is going to start. So I would start Olave as one of the options. And I would probably go Palmer because I think Mecole Hardman's going to be back this week, even though Juju's not going to play. You still have Travis Kelce there. You still have MVS. So I know he got banged up too, but I think he'll play. Juju, I don't think will play. So I would go with Olave and Palmer, had the one big game and then last week was a little quiet, but I think still I know they might practice this week, but I don't think both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams will be back for week 11. Fourth on waiver wire had and dropped Pat's D. Otten came through over Pitts. Should I drop Otten, prioritize Kmet? Yes, absolutely. Cameron Brate is back, so that's going to hurt Otten a little bit. Chris Godwin is starting to get more up to speed now. He had a touchdown in Germany there. So I would definitely go Kmet. I think Kmet's got 5 touchdowns over the last couple of weeks. So that offense is really taking off in a major way. So, I think that the Bears have found something that works in all facets of this passing game and even the running game as well with Fields. So I would definitely go get Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, Christian Watson, those are the 2 big ones, and Isaiah Pacheco, depending on your need. If you need tight end, you go Kmet. If you need receiver, go Watson. If you need running back, go Pacheco. Those are your priority ads for the waiver wire this week. CPAT versus Pacheco. Oh, you got to go Pacheco because CPAT hardly got any work. And there's like 5 guys now that are running the football for the Falcons, Anthony. So I would go Pacheco there. Owen, thank you for that, Anthony. 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's thanks to all of you guys. Itty Bitty South, I have the number 1 waiver. Who should I pick up? 5 and 12 team, half PPR, quarterback Tua, who's on a bye. Saquon, Mitchell, B-Rob, Herbert. Well, you just lost Herbert, Dylan. It looks like you need some running backs. DJ Moore, Tony. I would go. It looks like you're a little weak at running back, so I would probably. You know what? I'm not sure now. If Pacheco's available, I would maybe go Pacheco. Christian Watson also. Tony and Moore, Elijah Moore, not doing much of anything for you. So, and DJ Moore too. You know what? Actually, I scratched that. I think you should go Christian Watson. And you already dropped Herbert. Yeah, I would go Christian Watson there for sure. And again, guys, add your questions as we go along, and I'll certainly answer them. But anyway, getting back to Cooper Kupp, it's a real shame. He was worthy of the number 1 overall pick in PPR fantasy leagues. He's been putting up video game numbers for the last season plus, and you just can't replace that production. Now, the next men up, obviously, are going to be Tyler Higbee and Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is not the tactician, not the route runner, does not gain the separation that Cooper Kupp does. So I don't think he's all of a sudden going to morph into a 10-catch guy overnight. I think Tyler Higbee is going to get a lot of targets. And Matthew Stafford still in concussion protocol, so there's no guarantee that even he will come back this week. If he doesn't, I would just avoid all of these guys, including the running backs. And that's amazing to say, a Sean McVay offense, that we're just avoiding everybody on this Rams offense for week 11. And that's where we are if Stafford doesn't play. And Stafford himself has pretty much played like shit all season as well. I still think there is a chance he retires at the end of the season. It's not looking good right now for the Rams, who are going to have to, and they don't even really, they don't have any draft picks. So I don't even know what the Rams are going to do to try to rebuild this team. And there's no way Odell Beckham Jr. is going there. And we're going to talk about him too. Would you do ETN and Boyd for Joe Mixon and Chris Godwin? Yes, I would do that. I absolutely would do that. Tyler Boyd, once Chase comes back, he's going to have very limited value, Michael. So I would definitely do that. All right, the other big one today, and this was a shocker, Dallas Goedert is going to be out for multiple weeks with a shoulder injury. And he got roughed up by the Commanders, and that was a wild game yesterday. The Commanders had the ball for like 70% of the plays. They ran it very effectively with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson both scoring touchdowns. They controlled the clock. They kept the Eagles' offense off the field as much as they could. And now Goddard, who is right behind, in my opinion, Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews going forward at the tight end position, really separated himself from TJ Hawkinson, Darren Waller, even George Kittle in that second and third tier of tight end behind Kelce and Andrews this season. This is a big loss. There's no doubt about it. When you lose a tight end, a top 3 tight end, like Goddard has been, very productive red zone guy as well, you really just can't replace that. You can look for Pat Freiermuth on the waiver wire, maybe. More likely Evan Engram. Tyler Higbee, I would start with Tyler Higbee, especially if Matthew Stafford is starting this week. But that is a big loss. The hope now is maybe it's just 2 weeks instead of 4 for Goddard, but a shoulder can be tricky. So that's certainly a big loss. Is Monty Fool's gold, or is he startable if you're desperate? Other options are Gordon, Swift, Ramondre. Oh, no, you got to do Ramondre. Absolutely. Ramondre Stevenson is like a top 7 guy for me the rest of the season. He's been nothing but productive every week since he was installed as a starter. How high on Pacheco are we? Would you trade George Pickens or DPJ? Yes, I would trade. I would probably trade Pickens for Pacheco if you need the running back help. I've never been as high on Pacheco, who was a 7th round pick for a reason. I know running back, you can, Terrell Davis was a 6th round pick for God's sakes, but, He didn't catch the ball in college. He's not catching the ball in the NFL. So there's limited overall impact when it comes to his fantasy numbers. CEH is now planted firmly on the bench, so that's one option that he doesn't have to worry about. And Jerick McKinnon is really just a glorified third down pass receiving back. So I think Pacheco is in line for 15 to 18 carries a week going forward the rest of the season. Not going to call him a league winner because he doesn't catch the football. Ramondre Stevenson was a league winner, in my opinion, and he still is. I think, he can get running back 2 value Pacheco in standard leagues and more flex and PPR. Who would you pick up, Christian Watson or Allen Robinson? Christian Watson. Again, I don't look at Allen Robinson. Now, again, I was very high on him coming into the season, but he lost a step. And for a guy who already started to struggle gaining separation, that's Kenny Golladay territory. Maybe not as extreme, but Kenny Golladay profiled as somebody that was pretty similar to Allen Robinson in build, not having that top end speed to generate consistent separation. And once these guys start losing a step, like Galladay's completely washed, Robinson's not completely washed yet, but he's not going to put up those numbers that Cooper Kupp will be able to. And now Khalil Herbert, that was a late one that came down. So he's on the IR. You could drop him all over the place because there's no need to hold on to him because he was really just a part-time player as it is. It was very frustrating with Herbert because we all knew he was a better player. Hi, Steve. How you doing? We all know, we all knew it was obvious about Khalil Herbert having so much more natural ability than David Montgomery, but the coaching staff stuck to it. With Montgomery for better or worse. Now it's going to be a lot more of Montgomery and his 3 yards in a cloud of dust, even more running opportunities for Justin Fields. And here's the thing, Justin Fields is going to surpass Lamar Jackson for the record in rushing yards for a quarterback in the season. Just shows you how spectacular he's been. He 40 plus fantasy points each of the last 2 weeks. He gets the Atlanta Falcons this week. And for me, I personally own him in both my leagues with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to start him, I think, over Jackson in both. And not even really debate it. You like Gus Edwards this week. You know what? I mean, Gus Edwards is a solid player, Ed, but I really don't, he's like Pacheco in that he doesn't catch the football. So it's very limited. You almost need him to score a touchdown. Brian Robinson's also in this category. You need him to score a touchdown or else it's going to be a washed week. Rest in peace, Herbert. Yeah, it's unfortunate. He showed flashes. He's continually showing flashes whenever he gets an opportunity, but David Montgomery just didn't get out of the way. I love the show and the videos. Thanks. But no, thank you, Steve. I couldn't have done it without you guys. So I definitely appreciate all the support, having the 1,000 subscribers. It's 1,009 right now. So hopefully any day now, I'm going to get that approval from YouTube for all the new bells and whistles on the show. What's up, DPJ, Gallup, or Slayton this week? PPR, thank you. I'm drawing a blank. DPJ. Who's DPJ again? I don't know. It's been a long day. I'm sorry, guys. I can't off the top of my head remember who DPJ is. I'm not good with abbreviated names, but Slayton and Gallup. Oh, Peoples-Jones. Duh. Hello. Yeah. You know what? It didn't really register with me because haven't been a big DPJ guy, but I'm certainly not a Gallup fan. And especially if Odell Beckham signs there, I'm certainly out on Gallup. I'm really out on him right now. I would go DPJ. Slayton is a little too hit or miss for me. Who would you keep rest of seasons? Watson Watson for sure. And I'll talk about Watson in a second here. Yeah, I'm sorry, guy. I don't know. I drew a blank there with that one. So as far as Christian Watson, I did that Trend and Mirage video earlier today, and it got a lot of attention. I do think it's a trend. I don't think he's going to ball out like he did each week. And now I know he made the most of limited opportunities, but Michael LaFleur knows he's got a new weapon now that's finally coming into his own. Aaron Rodgers kept going back to him against Dallas, and I think that connection now is going to be a thing moving forward. Rodgers has been waiting for this all season. He's been waiting for a Davante Adams type player. Now, certainly nobody is Davante Adams, but as far as an athletic deep threat, that's what Watson is. That's not what Allen Lazard did. Allen Lazard is a chain mover, short to intermediate throws. And we saw that Rodgers really kind of ignored Lazard for the first time this season. He's really excited about Watson. I think Watson's going to be a wide receiver 3 the rest of the way. One QB league start Danny Dimes or Kirk Cousins. Dimes will control. Yeah, you know what? But the problem is with Dimes is that they're not throwing the football. This offensive line for the Giants is graded out very nicely in the run game, not so much the passing game. And Brian Daboll knows this, and he's not exposing Daniel Jones to a lot of hits because he's had an injury-prone career to this point. And really, they don't have the weapons to throw it. So I would go Kirk Cousins. I mean, he threw for over 300 yards, only had the one touchdown, but he's generally 2 touchdowns every game. So I would do that. Hold Eno. Yeah, let me talk about Eno Benjamin now. So, that was crazy that he got released by Arizona. He played well for them. It was almost like Khalil Herbert light. When he got the opportunity in place of James Conner, he did the job. But this coaching staff is wedded to Keontae Ingram. So I guess I can understand from that perspective. They drafted Ingram, and Ingram's got ability too. So maybe they just figured, you know what, let's just make the move now. And Benjamin signing with Houston is not the best landing spot. So in terms of holding him, they like Rex Burkhead, who's good in pass protection. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And certainly Dameon Pierce is not going to lose a starting job. What this might do, though, is with the realization that Pierce is at career high carries or touches going back to his Florida days where he was a part-time player, this is probably meant to give Benjamin 5 to 8 carries a game to dial back things on Pierce so he doesn't get injured. I traded Amari Cooper for JT in week 9 for long-term. No, it wasn't a bad trade. I mean, I know Deshaun Watson's coming back and Amari Cooper is probably going to be very valuable down the stretch. I think December is going to be big, but I also think JT is going in for a big December as well. Now, what JT did was vintage JT in week 9. Now, I also talked about this on the stream the other day. This reminds me of Saquon Barkley's high ankle sprain a couple of years ago. He suffered a high ankle sprain early in the season, missed like 3 or 4 games. Took him a while to get up to speed when he did come back in November. And then in December, he really took off. He was like the Barkley from his rookie year, and he won me and many others a fantasy league title that season. So I think JT is in that same boat. He got, slow start outside of week 1, when he was fantastic, got injured, poor blocking. The offense was a mess, missed a couple of games. Now he looks healthy. Now I think JT, a healthy JT, is set for a huge finish that could net his owners who were patient this whole time. And I'm one of them in one of my leagues. I think that he could win leagues, from this point forward, a true difference maker. So I think those who stay patient are about to get rewarded for him. I traded Myers and Drake for Debo and Hunt. Thoughts? Yeah, Hunt's been bad. I mean, they're not even really using him. Debo, I think, is being left behind in the offense. Myers has been good. Drake has been, So, and I assume you mean Drake London, right? It seems like a wash to me. Steve, I think Jacoby Myers has actually been the most productive out of all those players. So I'm not really sure about that one. Mike Evans and Zeke for ETN. Am I giving up too much? No, because I think Zeke is washed. And Mike Evans very well might be washed as well. Not completely washed, but could be headed that way because he's not playing as well. He's not playing like vintage Mike Evans. So, and it's obvious. He's banged up. He's had some physical issues this season. So I think that there is concern for Evans going forward. Need to Gabe Davis, Cortland Sutton, and Pickens, Darnell Mooney. I would go Mooney because they're playing the Falcons. And Gabe Davis, Sutton, no Jerry Jeudy this week. If Jerry Jeudy sits out, I would go Sutton and Darnell Mooney. If Jeudy plays, which I don't think he will, then maybe I would go Davis and Mooney, but definitely Mooney. Oh, damn, I didn't see he went to Houston. I have Pierce. Dan was hoping for starting. Yeah, he wasn't going to find a starting job anywhere, I don't think, Benjamin, but I thought that was a curious, destination for him to pick. But at this point in the season, I guess he didn't have a lot of options. I think Christian Watson's a sell high. Unfortunately, his talent is unmatched, but he has a route running and a ball skills of a high school player. Yes, that's the problem, Keenan, is that he comes from North Dakota State, which is a small school. And I noted that in my draft guide that came out, this past February, that while the tools were there was going to be a steep learning curve for him. And that has happened. He's been injured. He's dropped a lot of passes. His route running is not crisp, but pure speed wins in the NFL, and he's getting open just based on pure speed on go routes and stuff. So that's going to be very hit or miss at times. But when you have a quarterback that can put it on a dime like Aaron Rodgers still can, I think that certainly will be a help. But certainly, a selling high on him at this point is not the worst idea in the world because coming off such a big game, just like I told everybody that owns Joe Mixon, who was pretty damn ordinary until he went ballistic last week. Now would be the perfect time to sell high on Joe Mixon. Love the kid next season. He could be very elite next season as well. All right. So what was the other thing I wanted to, okay, we talked about, so let's look at the waiver wire before I discuss some more of the injuries. So Christian Watson, obviously, he's my number one guy on the waiver wire. My thoughts on running backs in Baltimore. I have both. We'll need one to replace Swift. Oh God, DeAndre Swift. What a disaster that's been. Baltimore, Gus Edwards is going to be the guy. Kenyon Drake will probably play on third down passing situations. It's going to be tough pinning down which one of those guys is going to have more value. Of course, Lamar Jackson likes to take the ball in himself near the goal line. So I don't really like the Baltimore running backs. I really haven't for the last couple of years, just because they do the committee and Jackson gets his as well. Harris playing this week. Damian Harris, he probably will, but this is Ramondre Stevenson's season now, team. Monty for Pittman. I would do it. Yeah, I definitely would do that. That's a good trade because Pittman now has value again with Matt Ryan starting. Pittman's had a couple of big games with Ryan this season, and I think Michael Pittman is back to being a wide receiver too in fantasy. All right, Christian Watson again and I'm sorry, I have allergies. Fall allergies been bothering me. Christian Watson is the number one waiver guy this week, in my opinion. Really need a tight end, McBride, Juwan Johnson. I would go Juwan Johnson. He's been very good. He's been quietly very good. He's scoring touchdowns, very athletic tight end. So I would go with Juwan Johnson. My second waiver wire guy, Pacheco is not widely available, so I'm not going to include him. It would be Rachaad White. So Rachaad White, who, believe it or not, is still available in 45% of leagues, which is ridiculous. People aren't paying attention. He's going to remain the starter even off the bye. Leonard Fournette will be okay. According to Adam Schefter, he will play in week 12, but he's not going to be happy about it because Rachaad White is going to be the starter. White ran for over 100 yards. He looked good. He was noted for his pass receiving skills coming out of college, so he has to be the number 2 target. I would have Jaylen Warren number 3 because he outscored fantasy points Najee Harris, despite Harris doubling him up in touches last week. Harris is banged up. He's going to be limited this week, according to Mike Tomlin. And, Warren's just been the better player. I mean, he's already pushing for more touches. It started to happen last week. And maybe like the Rachaad White situation in Tampa, Warren will get more and more touches as we go along. DPJ or Paris? I would go Paris because Ryan's back under center. And speaking of Paris, I have him right there with Allen Robinson and Kadarius Toney as like the 4th or 5th guy off waivers. If I had to pick one, I probably would go Toney over Campbell over Robinson and then Slayton. So in that order. So I go Toney, then Paris Campbell, then Allen Robinson, then Darius Slayton. And then switching gears to quarterback, Deshaun Watson. So he's only 6% owned. Especially if you're in a super flex league, which I think he's probably owned already in super flex leagues, then in single quarterback leagues, Watson can be, it might take him a game or two to find his equilibrium. It's been so long since he played, but I think Watson can certainly be a big factor the rest of the season. Am I starting Burrow or Fields this week? Fields. You got to start Fields. Listen, back-to-back 40-plus campaigns. He runs, Burrow doesn't run, and he's got the Atlanta Falcons. All right, Foster Moreau, we all know Darren Waller's on IR for the next couple of weeks. So Foster Moreau, who's done a decent job, I think it's, there's somebody if you're a Dallas Goedert owner. I would look Tyler Higbee first, but Dallas Goedert owners should also look at Foster Moreau as somebody who I think is worth picking up this week. Also, would you trade A.J. Brown for CD? Oh, for sure. So A.J. Brown, God, if you needed 2 points from A.J. Brown last night, you didn't get it. I mean, like that had to be like the most gut-wrenching way to lose a fantasy match. It'd be like, if you had even a 2, 3, 5 point deficit to overcome, you're like, cool, I got A.J. Brown, I'm good. And he scores 1.7 points. And that's the thing with A.J. Brown. I talked about it in the video that I posted this afternoon discussing the Washington Eagles game last night, is that he's still reverting back to that Tennessee A.J. Brown where it's a little bit too hit or miss. He has the huge games and then follows that up with 2 catches for 15 yards. So that can get very annoying. Devontae Smith, very capable receiver on the other side, first-round pick, had a good game against Washington, had that bullshit fumble at the last play of the game. How about that too, by the way? The Redskins score, the Commanders scoring that fumble touchdown. I mean, I don't know what the spread was on that game or what the over-under is. Did that flip it on that last play? And this is why I don't gamble, because I can't even imagine losing a bet based on that last, Commanders touchdown. CD, same tier as Brown. Yeah, I think he's above Brown in PPR leagues. Coming into the season, I had him ranked Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, like 1A and 1B. Then I had Stephon Diggs. Then I had Jamar Chase. I had Diggs ahead of Chase because I like the PPR appeal of Diggs better. I had Devontae Adams next 5, and then I had CeeDee Lamb 6, and I had A.J. Brown, I believe, 7. So I do like Lamb to catch more passes than A.J. Brown the rest of the season. Should I drop Jaylen Warren for Jarek or Melvin? No. Nope. No, I would not do that, John. Jaylen Warren's going to get more and more work, and he even outscored fantasy points-wise, Najee Harris last week. Who you like as a streaming QB this week? I didn't look at it that closely. Let me see here. So, Russell Wilson is a decent streamer this week. So, against the Raiders have been torched all season. So I think that he'd be somebody I would look at. Jameis Winston, if he's back in there, is somebody I think that you could also take a look at for a streamer. And that's pretty much it. It would be one of those two guys if Russell Wilson was released, and then Jameis Winston, who I expect will be named a starter, and that's going to hurt Alvin Kamara, who's not going to get as many pass receptions without Andy Dalton under center. Take a chance on Kyren Williams this week. It was ridiculous. So he had 6+ fantasy points. It all came late in the game. I'll take the hit for that one. I really thought Kyren Williams was going to get more run. And listen, he looked good catching the football. I know it was garbage time, but he's an excellent receiver. That's one thing I noted in my draft guide is that, Kyren Williams knows what he's doing in terms of catching the football. So he's still a hold for me. I wouldn't start him yet until we see more evidence that he's going to be used more heavily in the offense. I thought it was going to come to this point, last week, but, Sean McVay had other ideas. And here's the thing too, with Sean McVay, why not give the kid a shot? The season is lost. Darrell Henderson is not the future. Cam Akers is certainly not the future. So you got to give him a chance. You got to give the kid a chance. There's no reason not to do that. Like I said, especially in a situation now where the Rams are I won't say in a rebuild, although a rebuild could be on the way soon enough, but they're in a situation where the rest of the season, they're going to be, they're going to really be up against it. They're not going to be very competitive the rest of the way, unfortunately. And I still think Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford will strongly consider not being with the team next season. McVay going to the broadcast booth and Matthew Stafford into retirement with his 4 young daughters. Only reserve with trading Brown is that the hits of God it might boost. Yeah, and that's the thing too. So I forgot to mention that, George. Thank you for pointing that out. So yes, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are going to get more targets. Hopefully Miles Sanders, they used him a little bit more. It was very frustrating too if you're a Miles Sanders owner last night. He just didn't get the work that we had anticipated. I think A.J. Brown certainly will get more carries, touches, but I do like CeeDee Lamb better. I think he's more durable, first of all. A.J. Brown's always nicked up, and I just think CeeDee Lamb's a better player. David Montgomery versus Falcons or Jonathan Taylor versus Eagles. You see, so Shane, this is a tough call because, it's a plush matchup for Montgomery. He's going to get more carries. But the Commanders just ran all over the Eagles, and I'm riding with Jonathan Taylor. I'm not going to sit there and look at Jonathan Taylor possibly go off on my bench while David Montgomery and his 3 yards of cloud of dust is sitting in my lineup. So I'm going Jonathan Taylor. Is Jameis going to be named the starting QB? Joe, yes, I think he will be. Andy Dalton struggled the last 2 weeks. I think Winston, who pairs up very nicely with Chris Olave, will be named the starter. Should I keep Cooper Kupp or trade him? Hayden, unless you're talking about a dynasty league, you're not trading him for anything. I don't think he's even going to play the rest of the season. So if it's a dynasty league, I still wouldn't trade him. But you know what? It also may not be the worst idea with Matthew Stafford possibly retiring. But I also think the Rams, they didn't even have a first-round pick. What am I talking about? I really don't know what the solution is for the Rams because they traded all their picks. It's going to be tough. A lean couple of years. Play Rondale versus San Francisco. Boy, he's been good. Or Pittman versus Eagles. Would you play Tony over the other? I'm not playing Tony over either. I'm not playing Pittman because he's going to have Darius Slay. Darius Slay, the kid in Denver, those 2 guys are check who they're playing and Sauce Gardner with the Jets. Those 3 guys are check which team they're playing, which receiver they're covering each week because, look at Stephon Diggs. He really struggled against Sauce Gardner. Darius Slay against Michael Pittman. It's going to be a long day for Pittman. You always have to check that out each week because, like Darrelle Revis used to do back in the day, or even Deion Sanders before him. They could really take receivers out of the game completely. So Rondale Moore, DH, now that Zach Ertz is injured, and I know that Trey McBride caught 1 million passes in college, and he certainly is capable of doing a nice job for this team. Rondale Moore has got an insane amount of touches and targets the last 3 weeks. I think that's going to continue. And even when Marquise Brown comes back, all three of them, DeAndre Hopkins, and my God, how good has he been? Marquise Brown and Rondale Moore are all playable every week. Hopkins a wide receiver 1, Marquise Brown a wide receiver 2, and Rondale Moore wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues and even in standard leagues. That whole Eagles offense just has too many mouths to feed. He and Smith just alternate big games. Yes, they do. But if Brown is getting shut down by a Commander's corner, Gilmore will lock him down Sunday. Yeah, you know what? I think Brown was a little bit nicked up. Devontae Smith had a good thing going. So yes, George is right. They will alternate big performances week after week. We would want to if I played Vikings defense over Cards defense. Yeah, but you know what? Playing the Vikings defense against the Bills, I mean, you can't really second guess yourself in that one. In that same position this week, who would you start? Who are they playing again, George? Remind me. I don't have the schedule in front of me, and it's still early in the week. I haven't memorized it yet. So if you can just post to me who they're playing. The Vikings, the one thing I will say about the Cards versus 49ers, Vikings versus Cowboys. Oh, God, the Cowboys. The Vikings do get a lot of turnovers, though. I would have to say the Cardinals. The 49ers are not going to outscore. The Cowboys are going to go crazy with with scoring like they did against Green Bay. The 49ers are not going to do that. My team is 12-man PPR is Geno, Deshaun, Amari, Godwin, Sutton, Landry, Andrews, Swift. Oh, Swift, man. Pollard, Chubb, JK. I'm 6-4. Any moves should I make? Well, if you can get something for DeAndre Swift, which I'm not sure you could, I would do that. He might still have some name brand value to him. I'm not a big fan of Landry. Pollard's good. God, his feet are so quick, and his cutback ability is amazing. That guy is a real good player. Chubb, I think you got to get, if that's J.K. Dobbins, there's no point even holding on to him anymore. And Andrews is great. So Swift and Sutton, maybe I would try to move on from. Trade Chase, sell high on Mixon. Sell high on Mixon. Chase, I don't think you're going to get equal value for until he comes back. What do you think of Washington D this week against Houston? Yeah, I would do it. Houston sucks. I mean, they really do. I mean, the Giants defense, which is nothing to write home about, had a couple of turnovers against them. And thoughts on Jets D? Yeah, Jets D's been really, really good. Keenan Williams is the real deal. They have the next, the second coming of Darrelle Revis and Sauce Gardner. This team has been drafted very well by the GM there for the Jets. So that defense is legit, 100%. I really think Brian Robinson could be a second-half breakout player. Keenan, I'm not on board with that just because he doesn't catch the ball. He hasn't caught the ball much. Now, he actually, in college, if you look at his numbers with Alabama, his last season there, he caught the ball. He was used in the passing game. So he is capable there, but that's what Antonio Gibson is going to be for, and it's working for Washington, so they're not going to stray from that plan of attack. And honestly, Robinson hasn't really impressed me running the football. What do you think of Stafford? Will he play this week? 50-50. The fact that he's still in concussion protocol means it's probably a little bit more of a serious concussion than we were led to believe early on. So I'm a little bit concerned about him, going into this week. So, and like I said, if Staff is not playing, then you can't play any of these Rams, these Rams offensive players. Absolutely not. So Ryan Tannehill practiced in full today. Not interested in anything. So Mike Tomlin said Najee Harris has got knee discomfort. He basically tried to play it down, said he'll be fine. He'll be limited this week. But again, if he ever goes out and misses a game, I think Jaylen Warren could be something really, really significant for us. Who would you start in the flex? Watson, Olave, or Pickens? Olave, just because Winston should be back under center, and he did some big things with Chris Olave. So I would definitely go with Olave. Worried about Gray taking some targets away from Kelsey. That red zone TD he caught against the Jags Sunday was a prime look. Kelsey used to get. Yeah, listen, I mean, one thing Pat Mahomes did say is that they were going to spread the ball around this season. They've done that. So maybe we shouldn't be completely surprised at how the how the Chiefs have spread the football around. But Kelsey's numbers are still swell. He hasn't lost a step. It doesn't look like he's lost a step. I know his advanced metrics, dropped a little bit last season, but it looks like all systems a go for Kelsey, this season. And, next season we'll discuss it again. He'll be another year older. And then, we got to start worrying. I think next season firmly, you got to draft Mark Andrews ahead of Kelsey. But at least for this season, I think he'll be fine. Sorry for all the questions. No, of course not, George. Fields, 40-point performance, sustainable. The 40-point is not sustainable for anybody, but can he be 25 to 30 each week? 100%. And that's, like I said, he gets Atlanta this week. He could very well go sail past 30 again for this week. All right. That's it for today, guys. So I appreciate you joining in for the stream. It's going to be a busy week. I will stream tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have the approval by YouTube by then. I'm definitely going to stream tomorrow. So the first injury report of the week is coming out tomorrow. So I will be on for that. I just own Higgins, and benching Burrow is a tough one, but he's playing Pitt, who seems to have his number. Pittsburgh has played well against him, but that Pittsburgh defense is nothing to write home about. I know they had a decent day against the Saints, but that's Andy Dalton. You got to play Higgins, and honestly, Burrow too. I can't see benching Burrow. If you have a Justin Fields, then yes, you go with Fields for sure, but you're going to play Burrow every week. J-Rob, Gus Edwards this week. J-Rob I would go with because he's not going to be rusty and he's going to get the majority of the carries. So I would think that J-Rob would be the better play. But anyway, guys, so like I said, going to do the stream tomorrow. Do you like Rachaad White or Jaylen Warren? Rachaad White more than Jaylen Warren, but they're both kind of in the same boat. Would you trade Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones for Derrick Henry? Why would I do that? No, absolutely not. No way. Not a chance in hell. I like Aaron Jones better than both of those guys. Now, I know Derrick Henry's had a big season, but, he's still really not catching the football much. At his age, 28, you got to worry about him possibly wearing down the rest of the season from all this heavy workload that he's gotten. So I wouldn't do that trade. But anyway, guys, so live stream tomorrow. Make sure you look for the notification. And also always make sure you keep looking at the community message board of the channel, because I post on that all day. I post, polls and things of that nature. So look for that. Again, thanks for the 1,000 subscribers. Now let's get to 2,000. All right. So again, have a good night, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow.